Do you remember 2011? It was an abnormally dry year. In fact, it was the third driest year on record and at the same time the fourth hottest ever recorded in Houston. The result was that thousands of trees in Memorial Park and elsewhere died. For a park known for its trees, that was not a good thing. You know, I remember doing a story that year about the Memorial Park dead tree problem, and one of the big questions was, what was going to happen with all of those dead trees? Well, fast forward 11 years later, and we now have an answer.
We took out, the City of Houston Parks Department and the Conservancy took out 40,000 trees that had died in Memorial Park. When I say took them out, we removed them from their sites because they were dangerous for park users, and we took them back. We created what's called a biocycle center, and so we ground the trees up. We created mulch that then we created into compost, which is soil that is a very, very rich soil. It's a scientific process. We found in our studies for the master planning work that the soils in the park were nutrient deficient and structurally difficult to grow and sustain life. And that's due to so many years of really the wrong plants being here and then not being cared for and managed because there simply wasn't funding to do that. Mm-hmm. And so we created the compost, and we used the compost to enrich the soils in Eastern Glades specifically. So for those of you that know the 100-acre Eastern Glades project that we opened during COVID in 2020, that is a rich environment, ecologically rich, and we've even had a major biodiversity win there. But that's because we use the trees from the drought to create life. And so the sadness that so many Houstonians experience with the loss of their trees is the silver lining, and the poignant side of that really is that they're giving life now.
Memorial Park was created in 1924 after the land was donated to the city of Houston by the Hogg family with the stipulation that it only be used for parkland. It wasn't until the year 2000 that the Memorial Park Conservancy was created with the express purpose to care for the park. In 2016, the responsibility of operation and maintenance for the park fell to the Conservancy, and they've been solely focused on that effort. For example, even as the construction in the park includes new parking lots, well, there's not all concrete, but with drainage, swales instead of concrete. And planted in those swales are native wetlands and prairie plants to help with better drainage, which allows the park to be more efficient than any heavy rain events. And all of it ties in nicely with the prairie part of the project. Here's Shelley Arnold on our now traveling tour.
This acreage was about 20 acres or 30 of ball fields and parking lot. And so we moved the ball fields and parking lot and improved them and moved them to the north side of the park to gather like with like. And that was the original master plan of the 1930s, called for the ball fields to be on the north side of the park, and somehow they ended up here. And so we've moved them, and we've had to spend quite a bit of effort to remediate the soils, because if you think about what a parking lot and ball fields, chemicals and things like that, the soils weren't healthy, right, to sustain life. And so we've been remediating these soils with compost that we created in our biocycle site, which is in the south side of the park. And we used trees from the 2011 drought, which we used to create soils that were used in Eastern Glades. And then any other green material we've been using to create soil for the park from the park.
Okay, got it.
So it's a kind of a cycle of life story with respect to the trees that died in the drought. So this is from the top of the land bridge. You'll have this sweeping view of this prairie, and this is the Sivia and Melvin wolf prairie. And there's a south component that we're looking at, and then a north component, which is north of Memorial Drive. And you can see there will be a prairie overlook right there. Right. And you can see we have cover crops growing right now. And the purpose of cover crops it can be multiple. It's to break up the soil and improve the structure of the soil and its sponginess. It's to perhaps provide nutrients to the soil. And so we planted beans. We planted a lot of beans in the soil, which I think it's either nitrogen or nitrates into the soil. I think it's and so legumes we've been planting. You'll even see those along Memorial Drive. And those may not be the end state plants for the prairie, but they're preparing the prairie for successional planting. You can see the shape of the tunnels. You may have already noticed before, but the shape of the tunnels was, it was a very careful design, and it took the engineering team probably a year to figure that out. It was kind of an engineering and design feat. And the tunnels themselves are intended to be beautiful for drivers and for park users, not utilitarian. We made infrastructure beautiful. You might want to get that. That is called a critter crossing. We call it, it's a wildlife tunnel. And so that is 300 feet long. It runs under Memorial Drive, and it runs to, it serves two purposes. One, to allow animals to cross. So it was designed with light wells and shelving on the sides because some animals don't like to go through the muck. The second purpose of the culvert is to allow water to flow from the north side of Memorial Drive to the south side of Memorial Drive. So what doesn't get absorbed on the north side in the Prairie, which you'll see when we get up top, will flow through and get absorbed on the south side or flow through. So when it rains, this will be a little stream.
We'll have much more about the Memorial Park grand opening of the land bridge in Prairie after the break. But first, a few fun facts about this Houston treasure that is twice the size of New York Central Park. It was originally World War I training camp Logan and was sold after the war to the Hogg family, who then sold the land to the city of Houston with the stipulation that it was only to be used as a park. It was founded as a park in 1924, and now an estimated 4 million people visit each year. It has 30 miles of natural and surface trails, and they're put to good use, as an estimated 10,000 runners use those trails every day. For nature lovers, 79 species of mammals, reptiles, and amphibians have been identified, along with 60 species of birds.